thank you for joining us today. As most of you may know, we have introduced a new magazine for our church, Kerala Christian Fellowship, where we share news, topics of discussions, and celebration. Today we have with us Allan Alexander, who just like me immigrated into this country and now is a newly married young man. Allan, talk to us about your experience immigrating to Canada and how it's been for you so far.
For sure. So my family immigrated to Canada in 2002. We immigrated from Singapore. So my family consists of myself, my mom, my dad, and my younger brother. So we faced all the typical challenges new immigrant families would face. We faced challenges in finding work, trying to assimilate yourself into this culture. And a few challenges that I faced along my path was just going to a new school, trying to make new friends, trying to absorb this whole new culture that you stepped into. And it was challenging at the beginning for sure, but as you get older, it does get easier. As you grow to like the things that are here, you grow and you almost adapt to the culture here. So it does get easier, and as now 20 years have gone by, I think we've pretty much become Canadian.
Right. Now that it's been 20 years, tell us a little bit more of your likes and dislikes, what types of hobbies you're interested in, and just a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So since I say I'm Canadian, I love hockey. I love Tim Hortons. I love Vancouver. Those are a few things that I absolutely love here, and I can't live without. A few of the dislikes, rain for sure. Vancouver is not the most sunny city, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I prefer the rain, but that's one of my likes.
Oh, yeah.
Now, given this day and age, why did you opt for an arranged marriage? Knowing that that's not the most common route in this generation, what made you go for an arranged marriage?
That is a good question. So to be completely honest, at the beginning, I wasn't the biggest fan of an arranged marriage as well. But a few factors really helped me or pushed me into looking into it. And those include my parents. They told me just to pray about it. They told me to ask God what His plan is and what you think that you should do. And that's what I did. I sat and I prayed about it. And God, I guess, put a little spark in there saying, just try it out. And also examples are this church that I go to, Kerala Christian Fellowship. There's so many cases and stories here of people having an arranged marriage, and I see their lives, I see their kids, and I see how happy and joyful they are. So that also really pushed me into considering arranged marriage.
Right, of course. And you've mentioned so many things about the church, about your parents' influence, but what was one of the most influential factors that pushed you towards proceeding with this route?
Yeah, so the biggest factor, I would say from young, growing up in a Malayali culture and Malayali home, you're almost instilled with the idea that arranged marriage is the way to go. And as you get older, that fades. Mm-hmm. But my parents have always instilled that in me. And so I would say the biggest influence would be my parents, and just seeing the people in my church and seeing their lives and seeing how it worked for them. And it really got me curious and got me interested in to try giving arranged marriage a try.
Right. And how do you think that this route differs from not an arranged marriage, like a love marriage or another route? What's one of the pros about this route?
So one of the biggest pros about arranged marriage that I've noticed was your parents are directly involved in it. Mm-hmm. So your parents aren't going to find you a random person. When I was going through this whole process, I was getting a lot of proposals. Mm-hmm. But my parents were the ones who were taking the initiative to filter through them and go through them to make sure that person is suitable for you, because your parents know who you are and they know who the other person should be. So it's not something that's taken lightly, and there's responsibilities are not equally divided, but they're shifted among different categories. So your parents are responsible for finding you the right person, finding you a God-fearing person, or whatever your requirements are for your partner. So that's one of the biggest things there.
Of course, yes. Now, given that you and Angel were raised in two different parts of the world, how has that been or affected your relationship so far? Has there been any challenges that you've encountered?
Yeah, so funny thing, our first meeting when me and Angel, when we first talked with each other, was on video chat. And it was interesting because our biggest fear later on when we talked about it was our cultural differences. Mm-hmm. She really feared that I was too Canadian, and I kind of feared that she was too Indian. So when we first had our video chat, I was speaking in English and I was speaking quite Canadianized, and I could sense that she wasn't really feeling it. She wasn't too happy with that. So that's when I asked her, do you speak Malayalam? And she's like, yeah, I do. So then we started talking Malayalam, and I could sense that she's now starting to calm down and she's starting to enjoy the conversation. So that fear was really what actually pushed us to change the way we were in our culture. And so that was our biggest fear, and we thought our biggest challenge would be is the cultural, but it really wasn't. When both of you are talking, that subsides, and you're just focused on that person and their personality and their feelings and who they are as a person.
Right. Now you did touch on how the church and your parents were influential when taking this route. But what other parts did the church or your parents play, during the process of talking and getting to know Angel?
For sure. So I've been in this church since I was 8 years old, and so I've grown up in this church, and I've had a lot of role models in this church when I was growing up, and a lot of those role models had an arranged marriage. A lot of them followed in the footsteps of their parents and all those things, and I can see their lives, and I can see how happy they are. I can see them with their children and living the life that I've always dreamed of. I'm not saying arranged marriage was the only reason for that, but I think it's a big step in the right direction because both parties at that time came together. They were serious about it. It wasn't for fun. So when I believe both parties come together for that, it happens that way.
Yeah, that's amazing. And now that you have been through this process of going through an arranged marriage, when did you know that Angel was the right one for you?
So that's a tricky question. Angel, to be honest, I knew Angel was the one when our values aligned. When we started talking more and more and more, we started seeing that both of our values were the same. We both wanted a Christ-driven, Christ-centered life. We both wanted the same things in life. We both wanted to achieve the same things in life. We both love family and always put family and God first. And when we realized those values were very similar, that's when I knew that she was the one that God sent for me, because it was a perfect fit.
Right. Yeah. So you were convicted internally when you felt that she was the right one through God and the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, lastly, I just wanted to ask you, what advice do you have for the up-and-coming generations, in terms of marriage and how they should approach this?
For sure. So I would say before looking into marriage, I would say look at yourself. Make sure you're in a position spiritually, mentally, that you are ready for that step, because marriage is a big step. It is a big step forward in your life, and that should not be taken lightly. And when it comes down to getting which path you want to take, I wouldn't shut the door to arranged marriage, because as you can see, it is time and time again, it's a proven way of it working, because there's so many people involved. It's not something that's taken lightly by anybody. Your parents take it seriously, the opposite families take it seriously, your pastor is involved. There's a lot of people involved in this whole realm. So you have a sense of security, a sense of people are taking it seriously. So it's not something that's just done for fun or for not so seriously. So that's why I think arranged marriages have such a big positive, because it's not just you in it. It's your whole family and your whole church and all the people behind you supporting you in this whole journey.
Right. Allan, I want to thank you for personally, coming out here and doing this interview with us, and we really do appreciate it. And we as a church wish you and Angel a very happy married life.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed today's video, and stay tuned for more videos and content coming in the future. For suggestions and feedback, you can email us at magazine@kcfwe.org.